They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Good evening, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me this evening, I've got Steve Tancock, fresh back off the plane from deepest, darkest Canada. Digital guru for Somerset County Cricket Club, Ben Warren, who must have said link it to your My Somerset account on Twitter about 4,500 times this week. And the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson. It's been a couple of weeks since we recorded, chaps. 6 Somerset victories during that time, 5 in the Blast, and that incredible game against Notts in the Championship. Shall we start with that? Now, I had a thought on this the other week. People are saying it was an incredible victory, it was remarkable. It wasn't, because in that game, that's a microcosm of what Somerset do. They can get bowled out for 170, they can bowl a side out for 92, and they can score 500 for 5 or whatever it was. All those things are perfectly within the realms of what Somerset do. If you were living under a rock, what did they do? Did they win the toss or lose the toss? I can't even bloody remember that. Anyway, Somerset 163 all out at Taunton. This game, of course, being played with the Kookaburra ball. Doom and gloom around Taunton, then they fought back brilliantly, bowled Notts out for 186, and then 514 for 8 declared. Obviously, plenty going around on social media and comments about should they declare, but it did not matter when they declared, because on that third evening they wrapped up Notts 92 all out, winning by 399 runs. Hundreds for George Bartlett and James Roos, 70 off for Tom Lammonby, and of course wickets for Matt Henry and the irrepressible Craig Overton. Josh Davey picking up 4 in that second innings as well. Have we seen the like of that before? We probably have, but it just sums up the inconsistency of Somerset. They're the girl with the curls. Sometimes they're brilliant, sometimes they're not.
Glorious inconsistency.
Yeah, kick us off then, Gibbo. What did you make of that game?
Well, we were pretty poor on the first day.
That was the only day I went to, by the way. Thank you, Somerset.
But we were very, very good with the ball on the second morning, and that's really what set it up, because it was a good pitch. And to bowl Notts out for, 183 in the end? No, it wasn't 183. Was it? We got
186.
186. You know, that really gave the side a lift. Tom Lammonby had a little bit of luck in the way of plays and misses and being dropped and what have you. But on a good pitch, we batted as we should have done in the first innings, and Notts sort of just collapsed in their second innings. It was a very feeble Notts performance.
Wouldn't be a podcast without Gibbo freezing and then jumping back in. I don't know. Oh, he's back. He's back. You froze, Gibbo.
Oh dear.
Do crack on.
Yeah, I just say. Notts were pathetic on the Tuesday afternoon to allow themselves to be bowled out for 92 on a good wicket. But Somerset were irrepressible. You know, it was led by Matt Henry and Craig Overton. I mean, they are a tremendous spearhead. And once they'd opened the breach, then, you know, it all happened very, very quickly.
And I suppose you had an extra day off, Ben. What did you get up to?
Well, just prepping for the quarter-final, to be honest. We're quite happy with the extra day. We've had it pretty... I think if ever a county cricket schedule could allow a smooth run into a quarter-final in this day and age, I think we've had it with the early qualification and the extra day on Wednesday. But it was just a terrific turnaround. I think that Dan pulled out the stat, didn't he, that no team had scored fewer first innings runs and gone on to win by a larger margin, which just goes to show just how...
Did you verify that, by the way? Because members of this podcast have been known to feed people fake statistics on occasions.
Not guilty.
Particularly in, I'm sure Dan is of much more genuine character than myself. But if it came from the pen of Mr. Kingdom, I'm sure it's bona fide.
I agree. It felt like a good stat. No, it was brilliant. I think the way that they bowled on that third afternoon was probably some of the best sort of intense spell of pressurised bowling that Somerset have had for probably since the sort of like golden period they had around sort of 2018 to 2020, where they had relentless kind of pressure from all kind of angles, and they just sort of through various reasons not quite had that in the last couple of years. But that new ball spell with Henry and Overton, and it was really well backed up by Josh Davey and Casey Aldridge. So yeah, really pleasing. And
Ben, how, from your perspective, how much value is Matt Henry adding, not just with his bowling, but how he's helping the group around the games? Is he sort of very supportive? I mean, Craig seems and I've been really distant for the last 2 weeks, both physically and literally, but it strikes me that he's one of those players that is really adding, and players are feeding off and benefiting from him. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think there's a natural connection on the pitch. His style of bowling suits, particularly Craig Overton's. And there's certainly an on-pitch chemistry there between the two of them in working together. But yeah, off the field he's been really good. A very sort of, he's not necessarily got the ego of some fast bowlers and some international players, but he's very, very down to earth, big family man. Settled in really nicely, and it's just a very pleasant individual. And as is Ish Sodhi, actually, who we met the other day. Really, really nice.
I presume Matt Henry was quite helpful in that short-term signing.
I think so. Yeah, I would imagine he might have had his phone number, for example. But but yeah, no, I think the key for Somerset has got to be checking out what his availability is like next year as soon as possible, because I don't know what the New Zealand schedule is looking like for 2024, but I think that's got to be pretty top of the list, hasn't it? Getting him back for as much as we can next year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, especially as it appears from what Peter Siddle said earlier today that he has probably played his last game for Somerset. He's not going to play again this year after suffering that hand injury, and is probably already on the plane back down under, or maybe staying to watch a bit more of the Ashes. Who knows? Might talk a bit about the Ashes later, or not, because we may want to keep this to under 2 hours.
Well, just in context of the Ashes, there's no substitute for real pace. That's what Matt Henry has brought to the attack, pace. And on a wicket, like the Taunton wicket for the Notts game, which was pretty dead. If you've got a genuinely fast bowler, you'll make things happen. He's a very, very, very important weapon.
Well, it's interesting you say it was dead, Gib. I thought there was a bit more life in this one, especially considering you've got the Kookaburra ball. I mean, it seemed to be a really good cricket wicket. If you got in, you could make hay, but if you put the ball in the right arews, you get rewarded.
It was slow.
That old cliche.
It was slow, though. It was slow. It was. I don't know what's happened with the pitches at Taunton. We were promised fast, hard, bouncy pitches, which would suit Craig Overton down to the ground, but we don't seem to be getting them, and it doesn't make for particularly exciting cricket.
Anthony, which was
the pitch for the game against Kent last night was absolute belter. It's the best pitch I've seen all season.
Was that one of the hybrids? Could they use that one in 4-day cricket?
I think it was the same pitch they played Surrey on, and the Derby. I think it was the same pitch. Just probably it reached that point where.
We're a long way into the campaign, and there are going to be some that get recycled.
Yeah. I think it was just probably at its best. Sometimes pitches can be at their best, those hybrid pitches, after 2 or 3 games. So it was about.
It was.
So George Bartlett made 100, backing up his 100 against Middlesex. I do spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about George Bartlett, probably more than I should. Potentially because he, out of that batting lineup, he's one of the most talented and pretty much the most frustrating player that's on the staff. I mean, for me, I think it's probably a mental thing with him. He just seems to get, not necessarily lose concentration, not get bored, but something around that kind of area. He just almost needs a little bit of a reset every 10 minutes or so, just to keep his head in the game and stop this wandering around and playing a daft shot. You've seen a lot of him. I
think it's a case. It's always been with him. He's such a nervous starter, isn't he? But I think he's probably one of the best at converting 50s to 100s once he gets in. And my take on him as well is I think he's the sort of player who not too long he's going to get to 100 and in the right situation is going to go on to get a really big 100. Because I think he just gets better and better. There's got to be something there that they must be working on, which is get his mindset at 0 the same as it is at 35 or something. Because, again, I've obviously not watched very much other than highlights, but he seemed to be moving so well later in that innings. And, again, from comments on Twitter and that, it seemed that he was very scratchy early on. So if we can just get him, the first 20 runs are the hardest in any innings, aren't they? If we can get him to the point of being more confident then, I think, and Anthony will remember me predicting him to be leading run scorer when we did our predictions on BBC Somerset a couple of years ago, and I still stick by the fact that, to me, he should be somebody who's going to make a huge amount of runs for the club in Championship cricket. So I'm just delighted for him, absolutely delighted for him.
Yeah, so am I. But I just wish he'd stop sort of fiddling around and trying to work the ball into the onside, straight balls into the onside, playing around his front pad. Mm. And I wish he would stay a little bit stiller, keep when he's actually playing the ball, standing still rather than moving around. Because he's got all the talent in the world. But as you've been saying, I think he is a nervous starter. I mean, he's got this tick of coming down the pitch. Couple of paces to a fast bowler, and I think that's just nerves as much as anything. But yeah, it was a very nice innings, and he's a joy to watch. George Bartlett is so fluid in his stroke play. But I'd like to see Shane Berger really get to work with George Bartlett and sort out one or two of these technical issues that he's got, and in the way that Tom Banton has sorted out a lot of technical issues in his batting. And is 50% better batsman this season than he was last.
Without a doubt. I sent Trigo off his long run in the commentary box on whatever day that was, first day of the Notts game.
First day, yeah.
Yeah, he just kept going and going. But what point that Triggs made though is when you say go, he does that sort of shuffle down the wicket, ends up outside the off stump, and then still plays at the ball.
I know.
Whereas you think that's something that should be step. Okay, it's outside my off stump. I'm doing this to kind of exaggerate where I am over to my off stump, so I can then leave the ball. I think as well as he's something he needs to work on is knowing where his off stump is.
Yeah, well, what Triggs said to me was that he'd be better off batting middle and leg rather than this silly off stump guard, and he takes an off stump guard and then he shuffles across even more towards the off stump, and.
But if you watch
that's the sort of technical issue that I think Shane Berger ought to be sorting out with him.
But if you watch the highlight reels of Bartlett's 100, Warwickshire last year, Middlesex a few weeks ago, and Notts last week, none of the glorious shots he plays are started off by that little shuffle down the wicket.
No,
it's all when he just stays still, bang, good technique, trusts himself, lovely straight drive, extra cover drive, beautiful to watch. Your thoughts on GB Ben? You've been a little bit quiet on that one. You've probably seen him just as much as any of us.
Yeah. I mean, I say really pleased for him. He's. I watched him get 100 at Lords in May as well. So, I think it's he's going to be a little bit. I don't want to compare him to James Hildreth, because he's not as good a player as James Smith, but I think he's always going to have that technique a little bit like him did, whereas when he needs to, once he gets to 20, that his technique and his eye will see him out of some troubles that that he can get himself into. But that was the, he's just, when he gets in, he's very talented, and he scores all on the wicket, and he can score quickly. So he got 70, 80 odd for the twos today as well, just to keep himself ticking over. So I think I'm really pleased for him, and he deserves a lot. He deserves success because he works really hard on his game. But I don't think he's ever going to be one of those players who's going to have a kind of a Tom Abel technique. I don't think he's ever going to be a player that when he gets out early, people aren't going to question him, because he does flirt outside off stump early doors, but so do a lot of players in the modern era.
Yeah, I think he's got the potential to. He is in the last year of his contract. I think he's. I don't know. We have to see how the rest of the season goes. But if he carries on like this, I think there'll be no danger at all of him not being signed on again for the next few years. But it's just frustrating because you think you could be so good. You could be scoring 16, 17, 1800 runs a season, and you just keep finding silly ways of getting yourself out. And he's been around the side a long time now. He's not, it's not. He's what, 25, 26 now. So he's been around that side sort of 4 or 5 years. I think, this could be his season. We shall see. And of course, James Drew scored another 100. What can we say about James Drew that we haven't said already?
He should have been out first ball.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
It was dropped by what's his name?
Was that first slip, or it was in the cordon, wasn't it? I can't remember whether it was keeper or slip.
No, it was wicket keeper. Wicket keeper down the leg side.
He's normally so reliable, Tom Moores.
Well, it was he didn't keep very well at all, Tom Moores.
Are you joking? He's normally an incredibly reliable keeper, scores hundreds of runs, and there's no suggestion.
He let through quite a lot of byes. He missed James Drew first ball.
I'm being a little bit sarcastic, Gibbo.
Oh right,
yeah. Sorry. Who's the Notts coach? Who's the coach at Notts, by the way, at the moment?
It's got the same name, hasn't he?
They can't be related, can they?
No, surely not.
Yeah, if you want to kill a few hours, find a Notts fan and ask them about Tom Moores and why he's in the side, and I'm sure they will talk to you for as long as you want about that. Anything more on Notts then? Not really. George Bartlett's run at Hasib Hamid is my early contender for Sparkling Cider Moment of the Year. I think a little bit of magic like that normally kicks off a collapse like that, and it was a brilliant run out to send Dozy Hamid back to the Andy Caddick Pavilion. Anything else then before we crack on with the blast? Cool. Right, we will revisit... no, we won't do Hampshire because we're doing one again on Sunday now that we made the quarter-final. So, that's one victory dealt with, and now we've got 5 more to talk about. Wins away at Essex, away at Glamorgan, home against the Gloucesters, away at the Oval, and home to Kent. Somerset have unprecedentedly, is that a word, won 12 out of their 14 Blast group games. Home quarter-final secured, top of the group. Life is good for Somerset in white ball cricket. Can't help the feeling that this could be Somerset's typical Somerset of storming away with a competition only to fall away at the last hurdle again. So touch a bit of wood there, but
soon.
Yeah. Where should we start then? Essex. That was a game where everybody hit about 5 sixes, I think. We won that one by 7 wickets inside 17 overs. We'll talk about that one because you had to sit next to a disgruntled Don Topley, Gibbo. Let's start with that first. I mean, we had them 15 for 3, and they somehow managed to get up to 186.
Yeah. We didn't bowl very well after the start, but the highlight of that game was Tom Banton's reverse... I don't know what you call it, reverse pull shot, a reverse slog sweep that went for huge 6. away, just to the right of the pavilion. It was a quite extraordinary shot, and he did it again at the Oval on Friday evening, and it was great. And Will Smead was good as well, and it was a very enjoyable evening. There's nothing better than beating Essex at Chelmsford, sitting next to Don Topley.
I wish to have been a fly on the wall in the commentary box. Yeah, I mean, we started off well, it kind of fell apart in the middle, and then we pulled it back with the ball. One thing that I was pretty relieved about is that we had Abel and Dixon to see that run chase home, because I think they got it down to about a runner ball. I mean, and they just knocked them off. Didn't need anybody doing anything silly, and they are two fairly reliable players.
Sean Dixon was a revelation. Actually, he went up a whole different level in his white ball batting, and he's sustained it subsequently. He's turning into a much better white ball cricketer than he is. And that's what he was signed for. But good luck to him. He had some really good shots up there.
And was that the game where we had about 3 hand injuries? I can't remember now.
That was when Roloff did his hand. Yeah. Siddle did his down at the Aegeus Bowl, and I'm not sure about Lewis Gregory when he did his, but he's obviously recovered and was as fit as I've seen him for a very long time last night.
Yeah,
he really did look fit and well and firing. Back to his old self.
He looked really good last night. Anything more on Essex then? No. Right, we're going to whip through these. Glamorgan at Cardiff then a few days later. That was Casey Aldridge's Vitality Blast debut, not his T20 debut, because he played in that Sri Lanka Development 11 game last year. But took an absolutely spectacular catch at the deep cover boundary and didn't celebrate, which I'd love to see. Just kind of stood up, cool as a cucumber, was like, yeah, that's what I do. See, I'm literally having to remember all these games. They come so thick and fast. You can't. I'm just looking across here at Quick Info.
172 for 2 off 17.1.
Yeah.
TKC 62, Smead 66, and Tom Abel the regulation 20, not out of 16 balls.
Yeah, we had to watch that weird leg spinner bowl for them as well. Peter, my name's worth a lot of Scrabble.
Yeah, they dropped Will Smead.
Not blue or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been a difficult chase for Somerset if Smead had been caught, because it would have meant the 2 down early.
Billy Root dropped him, didn't he? On the deep square leg boundary, absolute straightforward chance.
Yeah, it wasn't the most difficult chance, was it?
I remember now. It's all come flooding back to. He was quite close to the rope, though. That's what I think it was. He was pretty close to stepping on the boundary. So I think, although technically it was regulation, I think that was just in the back of his mind that he might tread on the Toblerone. To coin
it was
the phrase.
At the point of when they were, Somerset have managed to get themselves a pretty good formula of chasing runs recently, where they just sort of get themselves way above the ray, and then Dixon and Abel just come in and just nerdle it around and see in his home. But it's not always going to be that straightforward, of course, but it's quite a nice way of chasing runs that you need to get, is to get yourself so that run rate's not really a problem, and then have your nerdlers come in and finish the job. But I'm sure it won't always be that straightforward for the rest of the tournament.
Well, as long as it can be that straightforward for another 3 games, everyone's going to be happy. What else about Glamorgan then? Young Shur Bashir. I thought he bowled, he only bowled a couple of overs, but Cardiff short straight and quite long to the offside and leg side. And I thought he would just, really kind of go into a shell and just try and bowl it sort of flat into the pitch and quit. But he did toss a couple up. Didn't pick up a wicket, but I was quite impressed with that. He was, brave in his variations, and I think he's looking like a player. And I think he's going to be somebody very special to watch over the coming years, especially
another one from the Dean.
Yeah, is he
playing for the Dean? Yeah.
Oh, but he's not from the Dean. He's
doesn't matter. I'm an ex-Dean now. I count it.
He's come from
a Surrey boy.
Surrey via Berkshire, via an off chance getting a game in the second 11. Then he's just gone on from there. But with the English spin bowling cupboard in red ball cricket being particularly bare, apart from another Taunton boy who's sadly injured at the moment. Bit more progress, and you never know. He could find himself with a test cap sooner rather than later if things go according to plan for him. What are you cooking, Gibbo? I can see a hell of a lot of steam coming out your oven there. Is everything all right?
It's smoke.
Oh, smoke. That's even worse. I was paying you a compliment. I thought it looked a bit smoky. Steak and chips?
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Monday's always steaks and chips night. Right, let's move on from Glamorgan then to the Cider Derby against the Gloucesters a couple of Fridays ago. We had a bit of trouble there. Casey Aldridge and Craig Overton managed to dig us out of the proverbial, winning with 3 balls to spare, 4 wickets in hand. Not a game there where we kind of got, what did we get them down? Yeah, 3 for 9 in the third over, and they recovered to 168 for 6, similar to the Essex game where started well, ended well, but the middle was a bit of a shambles. Let's talk about Will Smead. I thought that's the best I've seen him bat for Somerset because he wasn't trying to belt everything into the river. There was stages there where he was, he recognised the situation of the game, and he ran the 1s and 2s, knocked it into the gap. 78 or 40, I think it's his highest score this year, 78. Really impressive.
No,
I think that's
he got 84. He got 84 against Surrey.
Oh, and he got 90 odd against the Gloucesters. See, this is what I mean. So many of these games, you can't keep up with them.
Yeah, he's in great form. He started off looking really rusty, and he's just got better and better. And as I said last night on commentary, it is just scandalous that he's not playing red ball cricket for Somerset. He is such a talented batsman. And rather like Tom Banton, he's improved his offside game as well. And, I think you cannot be that good at one form of the game and not be capable of making a really worthwhile contribution in the other form. I just think it's a real shame. But he's in great form. And he and Banton, if they don't both succeed, one makes up for the other. And they are a tremendous combination at the top of the order.
Well, I think that's...
And if even one of them can bat through 8, 9, 10 overs, Somerset, are in a winning position.
That's been a facet of the overall T20 play, though. Is if somebody's failed, whether it's with the bat or the ball, the other guys have stepped in and contributed. Yeah. We haven't had a collective failure yet. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood.
I think that's the amazing thing about. If you take the group stage as a collective, I think Kent away was probably the only real game where they lost wickets in clusters at the top of the order. And there's that stat floating around, isn't it? If you lose 3 wickets in a power play, you're likely to win. And the platforms that and the sort of risk management of the top 3, I think, has been a very mature and confident attribute of the side that they still go out and try and score it 10s, 11s, 12s and over, but they do it with a sense of a brain, and they do play the ball, the right shot to the right ball on the hole as much as you can by taking that amount of risk. And I think they all 3 of them hit the ball in slightly different areas. I think Anthony's spot on that Will Smead's enhanced his array of shots, but him and Banton are still quite different players, and Kola Cadmore equally, despite all 3 of them being right-handers, they do hit the ball in slightly different areas, and they do pose different threats. So I think that's probably been the one standout for me across the 14 games, just how consistent they've been. 60 for 1, 70 for 1, 80 for 1.
In like 7 overs or something.
And that's incredible to think that over 14 games. The worry is, and I think that's in the back of everyone's mind, is what happens if they
don't say it. But you're absolutely
that was actually what was reassuring about the Gloucester game. because we did lose early wickets. And then the lower middle order, who hadn't actually been contributing very much, the likes of Ben Green and Casey Aldridge and Craig Overton and what have you, they stood up and won us the game in the end when, we could easily have lost that game if it hadn't been for Green, Aldridge and Craig Overton at the end. And that to me was very reassuring because, the two weaknesses that Somerset appeared to have before that performance was the middle order batting. After the first four had gone, Sean Dixon hadn't really made his mark at that stage. I think it's now after the first five have gone, and Lewis Gregory, the way he played last night, it's the first six. Whereas prior to that, with Gregory out of form and Dixon finding his feet in 20-over cricket, if Messrs Smead, Banton, Kohler, Cadmore and Abel were back in the pavilion, then Somerset were in trouble. Whereas now,
in that game, Banton, TKC, Tom Abel and Dixon scored 16 between them.
Yeah,
and Dixon got half of those. So that was a case in point, wasn't it? That, again, absolutely. My perspective, which is very different from yours, you look at the score when you're walking around wherever I was and you think we are in a heap of trouble here. We're very reliant on Will Smead now. But then you've got 80 out of Green, Casey Aldridge and Craigo.
Yeah. No, that was a really encouraging performance against Gloucestershire, and we needed that. We needed to be tested, and it was good again. Surrey and Kent again last night. It was good that we had to bat first and set a target, rather than constantly winning the toss and deciding to field to chase down some sort of a target, because you can't win the toss every time, and we may very well find ourselves either against Notts or up at Edgbaston having to set a target, and they did it really well. 208 against Surrey and 220 against Kent last night, and scoreboard pressure tells. And I think there's a case for us if we win the toss, batting first rather than necessarily chasing.
Yeah, what was our last two losses? We've lost chasing at finals day last two times, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we lost Hampshire in the semi-final last year, and then Kent in the final the year before.
Yep.
Food for thought then. Yeah, Aldridge continues to impress. We have a little chat about Casey. He didn't bowl in the game against Surrey on Friday night, which I thought was a little bit strange, considering that there was potentially an opportunity to get him on there. Josh Davey didn't have a particularly great game, but yeah.
A brilliant last over.
Well, he did though. Yeah, that's true. Was it go for 3, 4, something like that? All 32 off 20 against Gloucester. He got runs against Notts as well, didn't he? In the championship game,
he did.
50. 50 in the second innings and 35 in the first. Yeah, adding to that incredible 100 he got up at Lancashire, one of the finest knocks I think I've ever seen in the history of first-class cricket. Tongue firmly in cheek.
The trouble is, he's from a bowler who bats, he's becoming a middle-order batsman who bowls, and what we really need is a homegrown fast bowler. And he does go for a lot of runs, and I think that's why he wasn't bowled on Friday night against Surrey on a good pitch. He bowls his natural length, because he's 6'5" tall, is a little bit short, and on a good pitch, if you bowl a little bit short to a good batsman, you're going to go the distance.
Well, that was going to be my question. Do you think he is going to develop into a batting all-rounder rather than a bowling all-rounder?
Yeah, well, we really need a bowling all-rounder then.
Well, that's true.
It's a bit of an oxymoron. It's a bit of an oxymoron, but I think it means Casey's games in the Always Look on the Bright Side of Life Cup are going to be really important for his bowling, because he's got to have a role in that, and that to me might well decide that discussion.
Could see him doing a Jamie Overton batting at 4 potentially. I've heard worse
with
ideas.
Tom Banton and Will Smead and George Bartlett all batting at 4 in the Championship side as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, why not? But no, certainly no. I mean, in the always look on the bright side of life One Day Cup, I think he could, certainly bat in the top 5 quite easily.
But what I'm saying, Shep, is I think he's got to be given responsibility with the ball, especially if Ben Green's going to be snaffled off somewhere. Then he's one of the senior bowlers in that side. Then, in terms of experience.
Yeah, probably Brooks and Davey ahead of him. Who else would it be? We're not going to have an overseas that we know of. Anybody coming in, Ben?
Well, I think it's just been my Somerset accounts. We've just gone live with the general ticket buy. It's quite a lot of people having a few, but we've sold. I can live reporting. We've sold 1,000 more tickets in the last half an hour for the quarterfinal.
Wow.
So yeah, we are about 5,000 tickets deep now for the game. So
wow.
So how many have we got? So that's about 3,000 left, give or take.
Yeah, it will. It's been incredible. The last 24 hours. It's
well, it can't be that difficult to log on and link your website if we're selling all these tickets.
Yeah, I mean, about 60,000 people have done it now. It's just a few that haven't. It's overseas players. I'd imagine, there's a certain, it'd be great if we could have some people in for the Royal London Cup. I think it would certainly help boost attendances and things like that. But we shall see.
I mean, I got quite upset at and frustrated at the ticketing window yesterday because I thought it was 10:30 a.m. and not 10:30 p.m. So I was on my laptop going, where the hell's the ticket? And then I reread the email. It said 10:30 p.m. I might not have been the only one, but I sure the hell hope that I wasn't. But got my tickets all sorted for Friday night. What are we up to then? Surrey. So where are we up to then? So Surrey away and Kent at home. We're getting there now. We're nearly at the end. I mean, what to say about Surrey? Nothing better than beating Surrey at the Oval. The Peasants revolting. Tom Banton with 84. TKC with 39. Ben Green, 40 off 24. 208 for 5. And then with the ball, Matt Henry again. 4 for 30, absolutely brilliant. And new signing, Ish Sodhi.
Yeah, both well.
Signed in the window between podcasts. Obviously trying to replace the irreplaceable Roloff van der Merwe, who is still out injured. I did ask him today on the Twitter when he was going to be back, but he hadn't replied yet. So if you're listening, Roloff, just DM me, bud. But yeah. I don't know where that came from.
Ben, have you got any news on Roloff?
I saw him yesterday, and he's still got the protective sort of covering over 2 fingers. I mean, if anyone can, it's probably he'd be a good candidate to go and give it a go. And I guess he may, given the fact he's unlikely to bat. I don't know is the honest answer. Obviously there's the tournament.
It's not out of the question though. He might be fit for finals day.
I don't think it's out of the question. I mean, but it is. What is it? 12 days away.
Yeah, 15th.
Yeah. I mean, I think in normal circumstances it would be a challenge, and
it's a big risk as well because you slightly misjudge a catch in the outfield, or something.
Yeah, I think that was obviously part of the thinking behind bringing Sodhi into the squad. And if we have both of them for finals day, then brilliant. But I think it's probably pushing it, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, they do get a bit of stick, but credit to the management for proactively getting in an overseas replacement, especially with the quality of Ish Sodhi. I liked him. He's a very good leg spinner in white ball cricket. What more can you say? Mixes his pace up, mixes his lengths up, bowls his variations well. Bloody good player. Yeah. Do we play him against Hampshire in the Championship next week? I presume we do if he's over here. I mean, I'm not.
Well, it depends what contract he's on, doesn't it?
He is eligible to play.
He's available.
Okay.
He is available. Yeah, I think so. Why not? We haven't got anybody else.
Just going to have a look at his record in white ball cricket, red ball cricket.
While you're looking it up, Ian, he actually managed to finish second in the T20 bowling averages at 11. And Jack Brooks finished third because I had a quick squint at the averages before we started recording.
Oh.
So he averaged 11 and Brooksy averaged 12.17.
Can you split that between the North group and the South group?
Well, actually, it did say Jack Brooks, Nottinghamshire, which I was a bit offended by, as you can imagine, also because he took 3 wickets for us, didn't he, in the game he played?
Yeah, Essex. So he played Essex and Glamorgan, didn't he? I think he bowled pretty well in both of those.
Yeah.
Right, Ish Sodhi's first class record, 93 games. I've lost it now. 93 games, 303 wickets, best of 7 for 30, best match bowling of 12 for 62, averaging 33 with the ball, 17 fifers and 2 10-wicket hauls. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Nice bowling leg spin in New Zealand, which aren't necessarily the most spin-friendly pitches in the world.
Not the biggest grounds either. Gibbo's got off to have his steak and chips. Hopefully he'll be back in a second. Yeah, I think we're picking him for the championship next week.
Ian, quickly, while we're on our talking stats, I thought as Dan wasn't on tonight, I'd try and come up with a stat. And the T20 averages so far this season, we have 3 batsmen in the top 50. We have 7 bowlers. Which when you sort of think, and we quite rightly talk about the batting, and Ben Green's in both, which is just
3 in
amazing.
the top 50. I ain't kept my spreadsheet. So who's that then? That'd be probably
TKC 42.8, Banton 37.45, and Ben Green 36. Probably helped by some knotters.
What's Will Smead averaging then? He's been scoring.
Well, I only looked through the top 50. I reckon he's just outside it. But we had 3 in the top 10 if you count Fish and Jack Brooks, because Matt Henry was 9th as well. So, and Roloff finished 17th in the averages, Shep. So, do we call him Roland now to wind you up, like our friend did last recording?
Oh God, I've forgotten about that. He was one of confusing him with
and then
Roland,
he said he gets him mixed
Lefebvre.
up with Roland Lefebvre. Oh dear. But that's interesting, isn't it? That, you know, if before I looked it up, I was expecting to see 4 or 5 of our batters in the top 50, and not that many of the bowlers, and it's very interesting.
Well, I suppose the way that we've been dominating games with that top order, it kind of makes sense, because none of the guys are getting in. You know, if that lower middle order aren't getting in consistently and having to score the runs, they're not going to be in the featuring significantly in the averages. I'm just going to try and find these now, which is why I'm. I hate cricket info. You go to the Vitality Blast page, you click stats, and then it takes you to their bloody. I give up. Anyway. Right, so sorry away, and then finishing off with a victory against Kent last night, which I could not attend, spoiling my 100% home game attendance record this year, at least one day in every championship match, because my darling wife decided she was going to go and see Bastille, and I forgot about it, so unfortunately couldn't get the kids up, because it being a school day today, we'd have been back far too late, and they'd have been grumpy little sods this morning. Right, shall we look ahead to Friday then? Quarter-final, under lights, Notts, Cooper Associates County Ground. 6:30 start. Is it 6:30 start?
Yeah.
6:30 start. Notts. No Shaheen Shah Afridi. Unfortunately been summoned to a Pakistan training camp, which is, terrible really, but, what can you do? Still a very dangerous side. What do we think is going to happen?
A lot depends on whether we get Alex Hales out early.
That's true.
If we do, then I fancy our chances. If we don't, we could be in trouble.
Similar situation to Liam Livingston a couple of years ago, wasn't it? He was going bananas, and all of a sudden, boom, caught and bowled, job done. that was pretty much game over there. So I was trying to find...
Can I just say, you had a discussion on the last show about this concept of the top team automatically going to finals day. And because T20 is, we've won 12 out of 14, but the difference between winning and losing is much finer. Over a 4-day game, you expect the better side to come out on top. And let's all be honest, we've had a great run, but we're all really not apprehensive, but we all know there's the possibility we could have the best season in group history and not make finals day. And I am sure there is a way that financially you could sort this. Well, that the prize money for the team winning the group compensated. My accountant's head was listening to that discussion and go, give me the finances. I reckon I could sort something out there. Because to me, I actually really like the idea of the eliminators for second, third and fourth. And I'm not just saying that because we've won. We used to do it in the year we won the One Day Cup. That was how it was structured. And I know you're going to say, yeah, but you didn't sell out the One Day Cup home game or whatever. But I still think it's, I'm going to go back to the baseball analogy. If you win your division in baseball, you get a big advantage going into the end of season playoffs compared with the team that finishes second. And I think it's something that should genuinely be considered. And I hope I'd be saying it whether it was Birmingham or Lancashire who finished with 12 wins and then something awful happened. And that's the thing, isn't it? We've had some stunning performances. The players have done brilliantly, but in this form of cricket, it's not even close to a guarantee. But being optimistic, they are playing so well and confidence is so high. You hope that they can deal with whatever situation they're faced with on the game.
Well, I don't know with it. I think Gordon Hollins would have a problem with it, and it's probably worth anything up to $100,000 a sellout evening T20, and that would take a lot of replacing.
What do you say, Ben? 5,000 tickets sold?
Yeah, so T20. So sorry, I've just missed out on that last couple of quick. But yeah, T20 quarterfinals worth about $250,000 to the club.
Yeah. Well, I just did. Cheapest tickets £35 times 5,000 is $175,000.
So when you add in sponsorship and dry and wet sales, all the other bits around a match day, it's huge, and it's not just the kind of profit and loss at the end of it. It's the reputation, being on Sky, sponsorship, partners. Kudos to the club. It's been brilliant to have 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's my favourite. It's my favourite blast game of the season, anyway.
Yeah,
because I don't much like Edgbaston. we always come unstuck at Edgbaston.
You do get to play somebody new as well.
Home quarter-final is fantastic.
You get to play, well, not new, but somebody that you don't regularly
play.
We've
played them 4 times in the Blast, and we've won 3. This will be the 5th time. We've won 3, and we lost.
In recent times, we've won 1 and lost 1. We won at home and lost away, 17 and 18.
Yeah.
The other way around. We lost in 2017.
We lost at Trent Bridge.
Yeah, and won 2018 at Taunton. Yeah. That should be a great game.
Yeah. Looking forward to
it. Who
do
we fancy out of the other quarterfinals to make finals day then?
Well, I think Surrey are a very good side when they're at full strength, and Jason Roy is back playing for Surrey now. So, they're always going to take a lot of beating. And Hampshire, ditto.
Yeah, you fancy Hampshire. So it's Birmingham, Essex to me is the one that could go either way. I know Birmingham topped the group, but
I think any one of the. Well, I'd like to see Essex get knocked out. Well, I wouldn't. I'd like to see them win and then us beat them in the final. I'd like that. Yeah. I don't know. It's the nature of T20 cricket. Any team can beat any team on the day. I won't be putting the mortgage on anything. In terms of the Notts players, well, Tom Moores is their top scorer, unbelievably, despite what I recently said about him. 252 at 43. Joe Clark 430 at 33. Colin Munro 207 at 29, and Alex Hales 231 at 25. So not having the greatest of seasons.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, I'm just saying. And top of the Notts bowling averages. J.A. Brooks, must be a promising youngster coming through their academy. Harrison Montgomery ball, but we're not going to worry about that. I think it is. I think we should win. Just carry on what we're doing what we're doing. One thing I did, it was the right decision, was we didn't experiment with the side. We didn't bring in like the likes of Goldsworthy and Bashir and that sort of thing for the Kent game. We kept the same side as much as we could, and just try and keep that momentum going towards the quarter-final finals day. What else we got to talk about? Shall we have a little chat about the Johnny Bairstow stumping while we're here, seeing as everybody in the whole cricketing world is having their Tupney Halfpenny on the rights and wrongs and the spirit of cricket and that all that sort of nonsense.
Well, it's his own fault. He shouldn't have done it. He tried to do it to the Australian in the first innings, and he should have been, of all people, having tried precisely that trick in the first innings, he should have been aware of the possibility in the second. I don't think the Australians have got any case to answer. I think those MCC members have just, made a laughing stock of Lords and the MCC.
Too much claret in the long room.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, one thing I did notice, and I hope there's nothing more sinister than this, but Khawaja did come back and look quite upset and have a word. He was the only one that did, so I hope nothing, racial racially motivated has gone on there, because that's the last thing that English cricket needs after the recent report that was published the other week, which I've got about 2 pages through reading, and it's a long old read, and a chance to dedicate enough time to getting through it. Yeah, Steve, out or not out, and are you doing it if you are Alex Carey?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're trying to win an Ashes test at Lords, aren't you? There was something I saw that said you need to watch Indian test batsmen, because in that situation they have been told, and I don't know where it's come from, I don't know, but apparently they look at the keeper, and then if in doubt they look at the square leg umpire and sort of get a recognition it's okay to leave the crease. And yeah, when I was playing, if I'd had the opportunity to do it in a game that was any game, you play to win. Yeah.
I bet you've done it, haven't you, Shep?
Oh yeah, I'm the biggest shit-ass keeper going. I'm absolutely all for it. Yeah, absolutely. I would have done it, and I will do it and I will continue to do it as well. The only time I haven't done it, the only time I've ever been a stand-up moral citizen when I was keeping wicket is we were away at Bridgestow, which is up near Oakhampton, a couple of years ago, and they were 9 down. They needed about 150 to win off about 13 overs or something. And this kid, he was about 11. He comes in, grey tracksuit bottoms, black trainers. I don't think he'd ever played the game before. He wanders out of his ground, first ball. I take it, I say, Kid, keep your foot behind the line or you'll be out. He sort of looked at me with kind of a vacant stare, and okay, he don't know what he's on about. So next ball I had him off in the bar. Thank you very much. But yeah, I've lost count of the amount of times I've rolled it up with the stumps. I normally miss. That's my trouble. Right. So Ben, what was your thoughts on the old Johnny Bairstow dismissal?
I don't know. Is my understanding. I'm probably 50-50. I think my first thought was that it was within the laws, but not within the spirit. But the more you watch it, the more you see the fact that he was making a move too quickly, and it was quite clever.
What is the spirit of cricket anyway?
I think if he was injured,
that load of complete bollocks. There's as much cheating goes on in cricket.
Well, there was one in one of these World Cup qualifiers last week where I think it was Ireland playing Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan batsman, he's taken a bouncer, short ball on the glove, and then he's sort of wheeled away. He's wringing his hand, and he's been run out while he's obviously not 10th road. He's going, ow, my finger, ow, my finger. That is, for me, is against the spirit of cricket because the guy's injured. He's not being dozy.
There was a good exchange on Twitter. Did you see the exchange on Twitter between Paul Nixon
Oh, Mark Butcher.
And Mark
Yeah.
Butcher. Paul Nixon said, "Oh, it's not in the spirit of cricket." And Mark Butcher came back and said, "Well, when you were keeping against me, he faked that he'd missed the ball and he'd gone down for a leg by, and Butcher set off for a leg by, whereupon Nixon produced the ball and took the bails off,
which would now be 5 penalty runs.
That's sportsmanship
fake
for you.
fielding.
That's the spirit of cricket." Dear God.
Right. What else are we doing there?
Luckily, we haven't had to deal with anything like that at Somerset this season.
Yeah.
Well, don't count your chickens, Ben. It could all kick off quite soon.
Happy to win the blast.
Big Tom Moore's at the centre of it, Ian, on Friday night.
Oh God, yeah. Yes.
What do you think the Somerset fans' reaction would be if that happened in the final?
What are we? Is Tom Banton doing it, or is
keeping? Yeah.
Oh yeah, out all day long. What else you got? Speaking of Tom Banton, he's off to play some T10 cricket in Zimbabwe in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. It's only like a 10-day job, so we'll be off for that. Roloff has signed for the CPL, so that will mean he misses probably a couple of championship games, but he wouldn't probably be selected for those anyway. So best of luck to those two guys in their endeavours around the world. Right, quickly listeners' question then. Andy Cleve, as a follow-up, who comes in for Davey if he's not fit? Casey Brooks or a second spinner?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, JD didn't have too good a night of it, and he has got a bit of a side strain from last night. So,
I mean, Jack Brooks has played for Notts, hasn't he? As we mentioned earlier in the podcast. Yeah, I think it could be a good wild card option, maybe. But Casey's has strength in the batting. So, I don't think they'll play
and the fielding.
And the fielding as well. I mean, they have always gone. They've gone with 6 bowlers every game, and I think that's a very, very sensible strategy to be going on with, because statistically, one of your guys might take a bit of a clothing. So, and more often than not, someone has. We go back to what we were talking about with the batting, with somebody always stepping up if another guy fails. We haven't had a collective bowling failure yet. We maybe had one and a half guys, if you like, having a bad night. So, yeah, I definitely want to keep the 6 bowling options.
Yeah, I don't think they'll play the extra spinner. I think smart money would be on Aldridge, but there's something about Jack Brooks that makes me think he's got one last big occasion. I don't know.
No, Somerset players do not get to retire in champagne moments. Didn't happen for Trees. Well, didn't happen for Trees retiring from Somerset.
Not for Trez either.
Not for Trez, not for Hildy. So let's hope that trend is. But I know Trees did. He won the Royal London One Day Cup in his last season, so that kind of counts. And then he won the blast for Notts in the October drizzle that day. So Hildy and Trees did not. Hildy and Trez certainly didn't get the champagne send-offs. They did. Mark Long is moaning that, Ben, you missed 2 wickets out in the highlights of the last day.
Well, that was ECB, not me, and they built the packages.
Bloody ECB.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we don't get enough time in the calendar to amend them if the ECB get it wrong.
Fair enough. Can't just whack them into Prem Pro, bang, 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 done.
Yeah, that and about a million other things that goes on.
Fair enough. Keith Beale has rather unkindly said, is Josh Davey too much of a liability to play in the quarterfinal? I hope he means a fitness liability, because he's had a few off days, but I think he's still a quality bowler, is JD.
And experience playing World Cups for Scotland as well. So
yeah, he went off with what looked like a side strain last night, though.
Yeah, so if that is... I
doubt he's going to be fit for Friday.
If it is a proper side strain, then he's no way he's going to be fit for Friday. Richard Freeman, any update on Roloff? We've covered that. And there was another one, which is, who would you... would it be worse losing to Lancashire or Surrey in the semi-final? Each is a horrible prospect. By Richard Freeman. Who would we rather lose to?
Well, I wouldn't mind. There are other teams that I'd much less like losing to, like Essex
Or Gloucester.
and at least Lancashire and Surrey have got one of our own each.
Well, that's true.
In Joss and Jamie.
Yeah. Matt Hutchins says, what's that thing that Tom Campbell wears on his neck? It's to do with concussion. It helps improve blood flow to the brain or something like that. Go on the Somerset.
It improves blood flow to the brain, which apparently provides a greater cushion between the brain and the skull, because I looked it up and read about it, and it's widely used by American football players. Apparently.
I would imagine so. The number one concussion sport in the world. If it improves blood flow to the brain, shouldn't all batsmen wear them? Because you can't tell me there's not a batsman who's played a dopey shot and has had a complete brain fade. So would that work? I don't know. More blood, more brain power, better shot selection. I don't know.
I think the scientific analysis is mixed when comparing its effectiveness, but like Steve said, there's a lot of people in America using them, so then must be found some logic. It's probably also a mental thing, I guess.
I'm going to have to go, Sheps, in a couple of minutes because
your steak and chips is ready.
Beckoning.
Fair enough, Gibbo. We'll crack on it. Professor Chris Lintott, friend of the podcast, says, if we could enter this T20 team in a proper 50-over competition, how would they do? They would win, but we can't. And we all know why.
Be fun to watch, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. And the last one is Jacob Lunn has asked for a shout-out for the Somerset disabled team, who are currently top of their Super Nines group, ahead of the Gloucesters. I can't read that. There's Wales and Dorset. So well done, Jacob, and all the Somerset disabled team. And Jacob asks, Gibbo, are you enjoying your new commentary position? Available for your own, $49.99 from the range while stocks last.
Yeah, it's been fine. It's because the weather's been good. If we get a northerly gale sweeping in across the county ground with frequent heavy showers, it may not be so great, but no complaints so far.
Well, when does the roof arrive? Is that still on back order?
Well, it's not that we've got a roof of sorts. It's the front. It hasn't got a front on it. So if the wind is in the wrong direction, we all get soaked. So
you should be in the proper commentary box on Friday night then, if Sky are doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we were last night.
I saw the little shed had been moved, and you were not inside it, and it was vacant. So all good stuff. Dave Downing's his current squad even better than the one that won the One Day Cup in 2019. I think it is. I think it is. Banton's moved on. We got Smead, Matt Henry. Yeah, job done.
Agree.
Right. I think I've exhausted my notes. Any other business, gents?
No. Congratulations to Jack Brooks and his partner.
And Lewis Gregory.
Gregory. Oh, Lewis. Did I miss that? Sorry. I saw Jack Brooks' Instagram post.
Yeah, that's going to be... Lewis's hand injury came at a convenient time. It's almost like a footballer getting himself just that extra booking just before the Christmas break, just to... have that bit of time off. But yeah, congratulations to Brooksy and Lewis. I think Josh Davies got one on the way as well. It must be something in the water at Taunton. Happy days. Right. Friday night then.
Right.
It's on.
We'll see you on Friday.
3 in a row. See you all later, guys.
Yeah. See you later.
See you later.
Cheers.